Hello everyone, welcome back to the session of English. In this session, we are going to discuss Comprehension Ability Part 5. So in the earlier sessions as well, we were discussing Comprehension Ability. In this session as well, we are going to continue with the same topic. So this is Part 5. It means in this, we will do or discuss some new passages as we did earlier as well. So in this session, we are going to discuss what we are going to discuss. In this session, we will discuss passage number 7. Okay, only passage number 7 is the passage that we are going to discuss in this session. So let's begin the session. Passage number 7, and what the passage is about. Now, as I told you before as well, that there are various methods of attempting a passage, and it totally depends on the time that you have or the duration of time that you have. But the most important thing is to learn or to understand the comprehension part or the passage or the context of the passage. For that, we have to read the entire passage carefully, because many questions are there which are inference based questions. That means they can be inferred from the passage. They cannot be directly taken from the passage. But one more thing is there, that if you read the entire passage, it will take too much time. Now what we can do, we can simply read a few lines of the passage or the paragraph of a passage, and maybe one paragraph of the passage, and after that just move to the questions, so that with the help of the questions we can read the entire passage carefully or one by one as per the requirement. So let us start reading the passage, that just to know what is the theme of the passage or what the passage is about. So let us start reading the passage. Amnesty International's charge the tens of thousands of political prisoners. Now, there is a word amnesty. The most important thing in doing a paragraph or the passage are the keywords. So whenever we are going to do or attempt a passage, we need to learn the keywords, that what are the keywords of the passage as well as of the questions, because keywords in the questions matter a lot. If we are able to find out that these are the keywords, it means we are approaching for this particular area only of the passage. Now what we can do, if the question contain a particular word, we should go to the passage, go back to the passage and start just going through the passage, start reading it as fast as possible, like we do a menu card in a restaurant. So we just go through the passage and try to find out that particular keyword that has been asked in the question. And if we are reading the paragraph and we are just fetching some keywords, those keywords will figure out the concept or the theme of the passage, because there can be some technical words. Now in case of technical words, what happens, if we know them technically or actually the technical meaning of those words, that will definitely help us a lot. But if we do not know the meaning of that particular word, we will not be able to do the passage as good as we could. Okay, now if we go back to the passage, here the word amnesty is written. Amnesty is actually when the government they make free the prisoners, or when they just forgive the criminals. For example, if the criminal surrenders or just given its illegal weapons without being arrested, that is actually the part that is actually the situation of amnesty. Okay, it means just making the prisoners free or just relieving them from their from their crime. Including prisoners of conscience are languishing in Indian jails, and that prisoners are routinely tortured in this country has to be seen in a much wider context than the organization's annual report cares to do. Okay, now here the one thing is very important, that are languishing in Indian jails. Languishing means they are just being the part of those Indian jails, and that prisoners are routinely tortured in this country. Now here if we read the line again, including prisoners of conscience are languishing in Indian jails, and that prisoners are routinely tortured in this country, has to be seen in a much wider context, it means we have to look after them. In fact, we have to take that particular concept very seriously. We have to look into the matter. It is overall appraisal. In its overall appraisal of 151 countries, Amnesty has accused 112 of torturing prisoners. It means accused, charged. Okay. 63 of harboring prisoners of conscience, 61 for resorting to the political killings, and it means those who are blamed for the political killings, that is assassination, and 53 of detaining people without a trial. Of these apparently overlapping categories, India seems to have been excluded from the list of the 61 which undertake political killings. It means India seems to have been excluded from the list. It means India is not in that particular list. Now, this is actually the passage about amnesty and accusation of the criminals. Now, let us get to the questions. Let us go to the questions. So here, the first question is, in the report, India has been excluded. Now, this is actually the part that we just have read. So, India has been excluded from which of the following categories of violating human rights? We know very well that it is torturing prisoners, detaining without trial, political killings, or harboring prisoners of conscience. Obviously, we have just read the same line. It is political killings, that it has been excluded from the political killings. So here answer is C. Now, many a time it may happen that we do not know the meaning or the technical meanings of such words. In that case, what we can do, just simply go to the lines as it is written in the passage, and you will definitely get the answer, because this question, as you can see, it is given directly in the passage. So this is the same line that we have already read, or that we have just read. Now, so we are very sure that its answer is C, that is political killings. Now let us move to the next question. Which of the following is not true in the context of the passage? Now, whenever such question comes, that not true statement, false statement, or the true statement. So, as you can see over here, that it is not true, it means they are asking for the false statements. They are asking us for the false statement. Now, if it is not true, it means obviously the statement is false. So some statements will be given to us. Now, what we have to do, we have to check each and every line from the passage, whether it is true or not. If it is true, then it will not be the answer. But if it is not true or it is false, it will be the answer as per the requirement of the question. Okay. So first of all, let us see the options. So the first option is India is guilty of some human rights abuses. We are asked not true. Amnesty International appraised all the democratic countries. There is overlapping of cases in the categories of human rights abuses. India was one of the countries appraised by Amnesty International. Now, if we look for these 3-4 lines, I think that as far as we are concerned, as we have read the few lines of the passage, or a few lines of the passage, not the few line, a few lines of the passage, we know very well that this answer of this question can be in those lines only, because all the 4 lines I can see over here are just similar that we have already read. Okay, so let us try to see them one by one according to the context of the passage. So what we should do, we have to look for the page number, that is 8, and let us get back to the passage so that we can simply compare these lines with those lines. Okay, so the first one is India is guilty of some human rights abuses. So let us see it on page number 4, that is, now let us see over here if this line is written over here or not. India seems to have been excluded from the list of 61 which undertake political killings. The reporters, however, pointed out the scores of people, military custody, and may also simply disappear. Clearly, only a thin line separates 61 charged with political murder from the rest. Okay. Now, if we look for these lines, including prisoners of conscience, okay, in its overall appraisal of 151 countries, Amnesty has accused 112 torturing people, 63 for harboring prisoners of conscience, 61 for resorting to political killings, okay, and 53 for detaining people without a trial. Of these apparently overlapping categories, India seems to have been excluded from the list of 61 which undertake political killings. The report has, however, pointed out that the scores of people military custody and that many also simply disappear. Clearly on a thin line separates the 61 charged with political murder from the rest. Before coming to such conclusions, however, it may also be necessary to classify various countries according to the political systems. Torture by the security enforcers by killings has the government make no difference to the victims whether they are in democratic country or in a totalitarian one. It means they just not have oppressed only the democratic countries but other countries as well. So according to this, now if we see this line, the second paragraph, India may be guilty of keeping tens of thousands behind bars and of the human rights abuses mentioned by Amnesty. It means the line that we just read is India is some human rights abuses. This line is correct. But if we see the second one, Amnesty International appraised all the democratic countries. Now it has, as we saw it in the line number, now let me give you this, whether they are in democratic country or totalitarian one. It means whatever the countries are, they were not only democratic, they were totalitarian as well. Therefore, the answer on the line second one, this is incorrect. So this statement is not true. Now this statement is true, this is not true. Obviously these will be true because we have to find out only that particular one statement which is not true, and that is B. Now let us look for the C. There is overlapping of cases and categories of human right abuses. This is the same line as we have already read in the starting of the passage. India was one of the countries oppressed by Amnesty International. Yes, it is. So here correct answer is B, which is very true. So B is the correct answer because this statement is not true at all, whereas other statements are true, and we have verified each of the statement from the paragraph or from the passage. I hope you understood this question. So this was very, very simple. Though when we read or when we start reading the passage, it seems to be tricky, or we feel that the passage is very puzzling. But it is not. If you read the passage carefully and if you read the questions carefully and try to find out the keywords and just compare those keywords in the passage, or just look for those keywords in the passage, you will definitely get the answer nearby that particular keyword, or just in a corner of that keyword, or you can say in that particular area of the keyword. Now let us move to the question number 3. According to the passage, through which media or forum Amnesty International has heard the charges? Okay, heard the charges. Seminar or human rights, its regional meet, and its annual report, its international meet. Now, if we have to look for these 4 words, they should be directly mentioned in the paragraph or in the passage, because this is actually something which we are looking for as a keyword. So here we are talking about that particular source from where we can get this information, where this Amnesty International has heard the charges. So let us see it into the passage. So let us go on the page number 4. Here it is written, Amnesty International charged that tens of thousands of political prisoners, including prisoners of conscience, are languishing in Indian jails, and that the prisoners are routinely tortured in the country has to be seen as a much wider context than the organization's annual report cares to do. Now here we got the answer that it is annual report. Okay. So now let us get back to the question. It is obviously the annual report, that is C. So our answer will be C. This is very, very simple. Now let us move to the next question. This is question number 4, the author of the passage. Now here only the question is the author of the passage. It means somewhere what we have to look for is in the options. So let us see the options as well. agrees with the report, disagrees with the report. Report means annual report. Disagrees that the conditions of prison in India is bad. Disagrees with the report on terrorists. So let us see whether whatever is given in the report, whether the author agrees with it or not. Okay, so let us get back to the page number 4 only. Amnesty International's chart that tens of thousands of political prisoners, including prisoners of conscience, are languishing in Indian jails, and the prisoners are routinely tortured in the country, has to be seen in a much wider context than the organization's annual report cares to do. In its overall appraisal of 151 countries, Amnesty has accused this number of prisons. The report has, however, pointed out that scores of people military custody and that many also simply disappear. Clearly, only a thin line separates the 61 charged with political murder from the rest. Before coming to such conclusions, however, it may also be necessary to classify the various countries according to their political systems. It means when we see this word thin, it means they are themselves comparing annual reports information as well as actually that the author can see. So this simply defines that author disagrees with the report because he is showing us the exceptions of the report that, or something which is not there in the report. So here it simply we can infer that the author is not in favor of the report or he is just against it. Okay, so let us get back to the question. It is on page number here. So the answer will be B, that disagrees with the report, as I told you, because there the word then, it simply defines that he's comparing the actual situation with that of the report. Also, he shows the exception of the report. Therefore, he is not agree with the report. Therefore, answer will be B, that disagrees with the report. Okay, now let us move to the next one. The Amnesty International's report is based on the information of how many countries? 63, 112, 131 and none of these. Now, as we see it on this page number, in its overall appraisal of 151 countries, Amnesty has accused. Now, this is 151. Total countries are 151. So, let us get back to the question. It is this question. So here the answer is actually 151, whereas 112 accused for something else or something else. So its answer is D, that is none of these, because the actual number is 151, which is not given in the options. Therefore, D option is absolutely correct, that is none of these. So again, this question is very, very simple. Now let us move to the next one. Now this is question number 6. The author suggests classification of various countries on one additional dimension. Which of the following is that dimension? Now let us see the options. Economic progress, human rights, industrial progress, or political system. This is again given directly in the passage. Now, before coming to such conclusions, now let us look in the last line. However, it may also be necessary to classify the various countries according to their political systems. Exactly, the answer is political system. So let us get back to the question. So it should be political system, I feel. So our answer is, so as the question is, the author suggests, as we can see the question again, as the author suggests classification of various countries on one additional dimension, which of the following is the dimension? We know this very well now, that it is political system. So our answer is D. So as we have just seen it in line or in the last line, that it is political system on which the author suggests the classification should be made. Okay. Now, according to the passage, what does political murder in a democratic country signify? Failure of system, policy of the country, need for autocratic rule, or heavy-handed behavior of the authorities. Now, according to the passage, what does political murder in a democratic country signify? So this we should look into the paragraph where the same sentence is written. Okay, and we know well that as far as we are concerned now, according to the passage, that heavy-handed behavior of authorities, this line somewhere we have read in the paragraph only. So let us see for political murder in a democratic country. So this is actually the keyword. Okay. Now let us get back to the passage, this part, the second, third paragraph. Now let us read this. Torture by security forces and killings at the behest of government make no difference of the victims, whether they are in a democratic country or totalitarian one. It is nobody's case that the democratic country is less culpable of the dictatorship, even human rights violations. But the point perhaps still needs to be made that the torture disappearances represented a failure of system. What? Point perhaps still needs to be made that torture or disappearances represent failure of system in a democracy, in contrast to being integral part of the state policy in the country ruled by an autocrat who is answerable to no one. Now again, if we see the political murder in, okay, if we look at for this word, there is political murder. Okay, now look for the word political murder. A multitatively different place from a quantitatively different place from a totalitarian country. It's respect okay, less than fair. Okay, now let us move to the next one. It is heavy-handed behavior of the authorities. There is also a scope of suffering relief from the heavy-handed of, even if the Human Rights Commission has not yet lived up to its expectations. Okay, so these two things are given, but here political murder has not been given. Okay, now let us get back to the question. It is failure of system, policy of the country, need for autocratic rule. What is political murder in a democratic country? Now, if we go back to the page number 4, and here if we start reading this, here we can see India seems to have been excluded from the list of 61 which undertake political killings. The report has, however, separated 61 charged with political murder from the rest. Before coming to such conclusions, however, it may also be necessary to classify the various countries according to their political systems. After that, torture by security forces and killings at the behest of the government make no difference to the victims, whether they are in democratic country or totalitarian one. It is also nobody's case that a democratic country is less culpable than a dictatorship in the event of human rights violation. But the point perhaps still needs to be made that torture to disappearances represent a failure of the system in democracy. Okay, so when we are talking about political murders in the democratic country, is actually it is representing or signify the failure of the system as given in this paragraph. So according to this, if we go back to the question, it is failure of the system. Okay, because if we talk about this is somewhere else that we have read. Need for autocratic rule is something different, and policy of the country is not mentioned, so it is failure of the system. Now let us move to the next question. Which of the following human rights violation is most prevalent among the countries? Killing with political motive, detaining without trial, torturing prisoners, harboring prisoners of conscience. So it is C, that is torturing prisoners. How? Let us see it again in the questions. Which of the following human rights violation is most prevalent among the countries? Okay, so let us get back to the passage number page number 4. If we see that 112 are the number of torturing prisoners, 63 for harboring prisoners and conscience, and or 61 for the political killing. So the largest number is 112, this which is for torturing prisoners. Therefore, this is actually the answer that we are looking for in this. So it is torturing prisoners. So answer is C. Now let us move to the next question. Which of the following is the meaning of phrase strike up as used in the passage? Hit sharply, initiate discussion or protest. So let us look for this word strike up in the passage. So it is whether, just look for this word if it is written in this paragraph or not. No, it is not. If it is here, that is a strike up. Maybe it is in italics. Just look for the yes, it is here. The openness of Indian society will be evident to anyone who spends half an hour in one of its chaotic marketplaces, or visits the law courts, or watches a political rally, or reads a newspaper, or strikes up conversation with any person on the roads. Strike up means just be in the conversation. There is no sense of fear in India as in a dictatorship. Okay, strikes up. Now, what is actually the meaning of a strikes up? Let us get back to the question. Hit sharply, initiate discussion or protest. So it should be initiate. It means strikes up the conversation. It means initiate the conversation or start doing the conversation. Okay, so this is actually the correct answer according to the passage. Which of the following seems to be the main purpose of writing this passage? Now let us read the options. To highlight the sufferings of prisoners, to condemn political killings, to highlight the role of Amnesty International, to further the cause of human rights. Of course, it is A, to highlight the sufferings of prisoners, because the main motive of this paragraph is to show that how the prisoners are, you can say, suffer because of all the things. So amnesty or the forgiveness to the prisoners. So this is to highlight the sufferings of prisoners. Okay. Now let us move to the next question. According to the author, among the good or the bad and the ugly, what at the worst is the situation in India? Now, among the good, the bad and the ugly, which is the worst situation? Good, bad, ugly, or good or ugly? So, according to the author, among the good, the bad and the ugly. So, we have to look for these keywords in the passage given. So let us look for these three words in the passage. Whether good, bad, here it is written. First of all, if we talk about here, we are talking about the prisoners. Okay. So country to be seen in much. Okay. Political prisoners. In this para, whether good or bad, is it written over here? Just look for the words good, bad or ugly. But here we can get an idea. Yes, it is written over here in this paragraph. So let us read this paragraph. India may be guilty of keeping tens of thousands behind bars and the other human right abuses mentioned by Amnesty, but it still remains a qualitatively different place from a totalitarian country. In this respect, that the amnesty has been less than fair. It has chosen to ignore the distinctions between the good, the bad and the ugly. The openness of Indian society will be evident to anyone who spends half an hour in one of its chaotic marketplaces, or visits the law courts, or watches political rally, reads newspaper. Okay, there is no sense of fear in India as in a dictatorship. It means it is bad in the dictatorship but not in India. So if we look at this word, the good, the bad and the ugly. Now let us move to the next page. There is also a scope for securing relief from heavy-handed behavior of authorities, even if the Human Rights Commission has not yet lived up to its expectations, unless such points are bad. Now, if we see that there were good, bad and ugly, and we know well that this is not actually the chaotic situation in India, but in dictatorship. So they are asking about India only. It means in India, it is either good or ugly, but not bad. So let us see if it is given in the options or not. So let us get back to the question. Again, it is okay. It is on this. Yes. So we are asking good, bad, ugly or good or ugly. It is D, that is good or ugly, not bad. As I told you that it is good in India, good or ugly in India, but bad in a dictatorship. Okay. So here, what at worst is the situation in India? So that is good or ugly, not bad. Okay. Which of the following is true according to the passage? Again, the statements that we have to look for. There is a need to check political killings in India. The Human Rights Commission has done commendable service. There is a need to improve India's prison system. India is not at all guilty of human rights violation. So true according to the passage. Now this line we have already read, that India is guilty, or may be guilty. So this statement is eliminated. Now it means that this statement is not true. Now we have to look for other three statements. First of all, there is a need to check political killings in India. There is a need to improve India's prison system. The Human Rights Commission has done a commendable service. So these three statements we have to look for in the passage, whether these are true or not. So let us read these one by one. There is a need to check political killings in India. So let us see if it is there. So there is a need to check political, okay, human rights violation. And here it is written. Okay, now just look for the three lines. Okay, and here if we see this paragraph, you have to look for each and every line in the paragraph, whether it is given or not. Okay, and see it one by one. So it was actually no, not this. The question is this. Okay, it is on page number 18. So there is a need to check political killings in India. The Human Rights Commission has done commendable service. There is no need to improve. There is a need to improve India's prison system. So check political killings in India. It is not at all given. And this statement we have already eliminated. The Human Rights Commission has done commendable service, or there is need to improve India's prison system. So let us get back to the part. Okay. If we see this state policy in a country ruled by autocrat who is answerable to none, guilty, okay, and has been fair, chosen to ignore. Okay, here we have to look for the same line if it is given in the passage or not, even if the Human Rights Commission is not yet filled up. Unless such points are recognized, amnesty assessment will seem too much to a recital of statistics which show, okay, larger population. Amnesty nowadays at least notes terrorists also indulge in human rights violations, and that India has coped up with several insurgencies fomented by a country of military does not seem under the, okay, true, there is much that is wrong in India's prison system and the way which terrorist challenge sometimes match, but the stress should be on activating self-correcting mechanism within a democracy, not merely on painting a grim, even biased picture. So here it can be the answer. Now, if we see this, need to check political killings, but there is a need to improve prison system that we have read in that paragraph. So in the last paragraph, as we read, there is a need to improve in India's prison system because it is very bad, or it is worse, you can say. So C is absolutely correct answer as per their line, as that particular line. According to that particular line, choose the word which is most nearly the same in the meanings. Okay, this is meaning as the given in the word used in the passage, that is a score, many, majority, a few, or grudge. So score means a few. How? Let me show you. This is here. As we have read, that a score of people. Basically, a score means 20 people makes a score. Okay, or you can say 20 units make a score. So according to this, it is C, that is a few. Okay, a few matlab, a few means some. Now the next one is fomented, suppressed, instigated, faced, or disturbed. Now let me see this as well. It is written over here. India has to cope with several insurgencies fomented by a country where the military does not always seem to be the under control of the elected government. So fomented here means just you can say provoked, or when we instigate someone, okay, when we poke someone to do something. So that is fomented means instigate. Okay, so if we go back to the question, that is, okay, it is here. So it means instigated. So answer is B. Now let us move to the next one. Culpable. Again, we have to tell the meaning of culpable. Cynical, troublesome, capable, or imputable. Culpable generally means, here it is written. Okay, not here. Culpable is written over here. Okay. Culpable, less culpable than a dictatorship. Okay, democratic country. It is also nobody's case that a democratic country is less culpable than a dictatorship in the event of human rights violation. So culpable means basically according to the question it is okay. It is imputable. Okay, so D will be the correct answer. Now let us move to the next one. Languish. So hold grudge, become sick, torture, or remain neglected. So it is B, that is become sick. Okay. Languished means that they became sick. Overlapping. Now we have to tell the opposite of this particular word. Overlapping, when something just covers the other parts as well. So different is the correct answer. Okay. Pillory, penalize, damage, appreciate, exclude. So pillory means to you can say to penalize or to punish. So its opposite is C, that is appreciate. So I hope you got the answers of all the questions in the passage, and this is a simple passage, and we know well that we have read all these words in the passage as well. We have read the questions as well. We can do these questions very easily. Just the approach should be fine, and our concentration should be there on the passage only. So it is not quite difficult. In case of words, if you know the meanings of these words, you can directly approach the answer, but according to the context of the passage may be possible sometimes the meaning of that particular word is something different as given in the passage as well. So we have to look for the words in the passage so as to analyze its answers. For this, vocabulary should be good, and just stay connected with the newspapers. Read them as much as you can, and because newspapers are, you can say, the daily dose or the remedy for any exam, for any competitive exam. So you should take it like a medicine that we have to take in the morning, okay, in the early morning. So newspaper is basically a very important source for any competitive exam. So just start reading them from now onwards, and just try to read them as much as possible you can. Okay, so I hope this is beneficial. This session is beneficial to you all. Thanks to you.